Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Catholic Education Foundation podcast number 25. An exciting episode for us today. Today, our special guest is Mr. Angelo Centeno. He is a senior at St. Xavier High School, and that, as always, Mr. Rich Lechleiter, the president of the Catholic Education Foundation of Louisville. Angelo and Rich, hello and welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, great to see you guys. Happy New Year, and it's our silver anniversary event. How about that?
We're so excited to be in year number 2 and do another 24 episodes of these. They've been gangbusters, Rich. We've gotten all kinds of listeners. Our listenership has been through the roof, and this might be the best one yet.
I hope so.
I hope so, too.
So.
We got a great story we're going to get into here.
Yeah, we are.
Listen, Angelo, we want to spend time talking about the life-changing experience that can only be provided by Catholic education, right? And we talked a little bit of that before we went on air here. And we want to talk about that as seen through a current student, which is you, obviously. So as we'll discuss later, you have a unique and very special plan for your future after St. X. But let's start here. Let's start with your early years of your educational journey.
Yes, sir. I attended Cane Run Elementary from grade kindergarten to about 4th.
Okay.
And then my parents decided that they wanted to make a transition over into Catholic education. My cousins had previously went to Nativity Academy at St. Boniface, and we had gotten so many good reviews. Mm-hmm. And so my parents said, it's only right that we give this thing a try. So my brother went through. He loved it, and then I transitioned over from JCPS to Nativity Academy, and life-changing.
What a cool mission Nativity is, right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Nativity a little bit. I mean, it's a very unique school in the Archdiocese of Louisville.
Yeah, it is.
But it's got an unbelievable mission.
Yes. So the founders, one being Paula Kleinerkrock, Sister Paula Kleinerkrock, they had a mission in mind that they wanted students from low-income areas to experience a Catholic education, a good Catholic education. And so it started off really small, and it took off, man. It really took off, and so many students have been impacted by the Nativity community, including myself.
Yeah, and one of the things that you had mentioned earlier is you can't wait to give back.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what that place is all about, right?
Absolutely.
Is people kind of giving back to them of the things that they've invested into these kids all these years. It's a pretty cool, special place.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and they have some really good programs to help kids after they get out of Nativity. That's
right.
The magic sauce to me is how they kind of accompany kids after they graduate from Nativity. Most of these kids are going to our Catholic high schools, and even after high school, they're following these kids if they want to pursue a college career. So that it starts there, but it doesn't stop, if you will.
And Nativity has a way to keep you guys connected, right?
Yes, we have a graduate support program headed up by a former teacher of mine, Suzanne Hall. And man, when I say Nativity stays with you after you leave, it's no joke. She has helped me, the graduate support program in general has helped me with my college decision. They give you a wonderful care package when you take off to college, and they just support you along the way. Even with funding, they still support you after you graduate.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Angelo, tell us about your family a little bit.
So I have my mom and my dad, both wonderful parents. I have an older brother, Antonio. He went through Nativity and St. X as well.
Okay.
I have a younger brother, Dennis, who will be attending St. Stephen Martyr.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, my alma mater.
And what's your mom do?
My mom works for LMPD.
I think that's awesome.
She's Louisville Metro government, and then my parents both do real estate.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, his parents are well put together people, and they're obviously raising fine young men here, Rich.
I appreciate that.
They are. Yeah, they are.
Appreciate that.
Indeed.
So, Angelo, why St. X?
I'll give y'all the funny bit first. I was actually contemplating going to Holy Cross at first, but their website was down. Their website was down.
Okay.
So I'd like to say it was God's way of saying St. X is the place.
Wow.
But more so, my parents wanted to keep me in the Catholic education because the formation process that you go through while going through Catholic school it's amazing. So much discipline and so much time and effort that the teachers put into their students. I've never seen teachers be so kind, so caring, and so into what they do. And
awesome.
all Catholic school teachers, right hand to God, I believe they all care, and they do it so well.
It's an incredible vocation. It is. It's not a job. It's a vocation.
It's a vocation.
And you really, I can speak more for St. X because I'm an alum. The charism of the Xaverian brothers is alive and well in that building, and it's worked every day by the faculty up there. It's very intentional and very purposeful, and to this day, 170 years later, it's still going.
Well, we're going to find out how alive and well that is in St. X building here in a minute. But let's talk about your beginnings at St. X, because obviously coming from Nativity, it's a small school, right?
Yes.
And then St. X is like a college.
Yes.
It's massive. So let's talk about kind of the transition. Was it hard for you?
I'm a very extroverted person, so I wouldn't say it was difficult. I would say it was challenging. Coming from a small school, 90 students when I graduated, and during COVID, it was a curveball, going into a school with 1,200 kids,
Right,
versus 90. And I was like this short, scrawny little kid.
Right.
I'm like walking around the hallways, being tumbled over, and I was like, it was different. But honestly, like I said, the teachers and we talk so much about our brotherhood.
right.
It made me feel right at home. And it has a lot to do with being formed in Xaverian education,
Okay.
where we get that brotherhood aspect from. It made me feel right at home. Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's a great answer. So let's take that one step further then. Tell us about some of the ways that St. X promotes its Catholic identity.
So many ways. Our campus ministry director, Mr. Stephen Murphy, he works tirelessly to keep that Catholic identity alive. We have Mass every Friday morning. We pray the Rosary every Wednesday morning. We have a religious activities council that I'm a part of, where we work with our campus minister to organize Masses, and so on and so forth. And then also the retreats that we go on. All Catholic high schools kind of have a retreat aspect to it. But at St. X, we have the Christian Awakening retreat. We have certain retreats for freshmen and juniors. And we incorporate the Catholic touch into those retreats, and it keeps it alive. Absolutely.
So what kind of extracurricular activities have you been involved in at St. X?
I do a little bit of everything.
Okay. And there's a lot of opportunities there.
There is absolutely a ton of opportunities. I work with our broadcasting team. I work with Xavier News and WSTX.
Awesome.
I'm very service oriented, so I work with our Riken Service Club, St. Joseph of Arimathea. I work with XBSS, Xaverian Brothers Sponsored Schools. We have a group on campus where we kind of work with our mission and identity director, Mrs. Kathy Reynolds, who was fabulous on working with us to keep the charism alive at St. X. So yeah, it's a little bit about my extracurriculars.
That's awesome, man. Listen, so Rich, you're a St. X alum. You served for many years as an advisor, as a board member for the school. From your perspective, how was the school doing in maintaining the charism, we've used that word a few times, of the founding Xaverian Brothers?
Yeah, I think there was a really big transition probably in the late 90s. Brother James Kelly was the first president of the school.
Right.
Really a dynamic leader,
Yep.
wonderful man, God rest his soul. And he went on to one of the other Xaverian schools, and that sort of left a gap. It was kind of a pretty big change. And God bless his soul, Perry Singali,
Nice.
a classmate of
Unbelievable.
mine,
Yep.
and a very good friend, who was he was an assistant principal, became the principal, and I think in 2001 became the president of St. X High School. And Perry, while he never married, he was married to St. X High School.
Yeah.
He was a Xaverian brother without the robe.
Yeah.
Okay, and he really was, and he wore it well. And I think he was extremely intentional as a layperson in making sure that the charism, the foundation of the school, the what I would call the guiding principles of the Xaverian Brothers lived on in a very, again, intentional and purposeful way, and did a fantastic job. Again, God bless his soul. But I think Perry, in the history of St. X, I think people will always look back at Perry Singali as sort of a hero
Yeah.
in the transition of the brothers kind of moving on and lay people running the organization. I think it's significant.
I would agree with that for sure. So Angelo, let's talk about the religious educational programs at St. X. I'm also a St. X grad, and I think the retreat experience was life-changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Talk about transfigurative. It is a very pivotal moment in your experience at St. X. We say that until you experience a retreat at St. X, you are living in a 2D world. Once you experience retreat, you enter into that 3D world, and on retreat, you learn to be yourself. Take off those masks and enter into the world and be who God calls you to be. And that, again, just strengthens the brotherhood at St. X. It makes the place so much more welcoming, so warm, so intentional in everything that we do. It's amazing.
The 2D to 3D, boy, that's a powerful way to put that, because you're right. I know for me, I was in a situation where I had just lost a parent. My mother had just passed away, and the whole retreat experience at St. X was a way for me to kind of figure out where I was in my life, and kind of figuring out how God was impacting me.
Absolutely.
And, because it's easy to kind of give up on God in a situation like that, right?
Absolutely.
So I think the retreat experience really brought me back to my faith and really kind of showed me a path forward. But it's pretty special, the things they can do there.
Yeah, look, I'm a lot older than both of you combined. I would say this. Even to this day, I'm 65 years old. To this day, that single retreat experience, I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
It made an impression on me that changed my life. It really did.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still remember it. I think about it. I embrace it to this day.
Same. Now, you've obviously done a junior retreat, right?
Yes, sir.
So have you done a senior retreat yet, or is that coming up?
It is coming up late in the spring. We do the wilderness retreat, where it's only seniors, and we get out into the wilderness, and
That's cool.
Pretty fun things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, have you been, so one of the things, so I went my junior year, then I was a retreat leader my senior year,
Yes.
and that was pretty special too.
Yes.
I
am a retreat leader for our February retreat.
Awesome.
I will be leading alongside some amazing students, and I'm very excited for the time that we're going to have.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a special experience. Speaking of special, you have some really awesome plans for your future after St. X. Tell us about them.
So, being formed in Xavier education, we learned so much. We learned mission, and that's one of the things that stuck out to me. And so, my freshman year, the brothers had moved off of campus, and we didn't have the opportunity to experience the brothers as much. And so, there was kind of a gap, like you said. And so, I took on a mission to create a new relationship with the brothers. And as I was doing that, and after retreat, my eyes were opened. At St. X, we are taught the Xaverian mission to give the gift we have received as a gift. And I have been gifted so much in my life. I'm so privileged. I've been gifted education. I've been gifted mission from the brothers, and I've been gifted with so much love. And so how do I return that gift to my communities, to the world? And so I felt called to the Xaverian Brothers congregation. And so this summer, I'll be traveling to Nairobi, Kenya, specifically Bungoma in Kenya. And I will be staying on the campus of St. Xavier Bungoma, our brother school, and studying alongside the students and the brothers there. And then after I graduate from college, I will be I'll be staying in Kenya and Congo for a nice amount of time to begin my formation process with the brothers.
Wow.
Wonderful.
How about that?
That's completely wonderful.
Rich, I would bet if you talk to the people who were the initial creators of Nativity, this is what they had in mind.
Yep. Oh, I think in this world in which we live, which can be difficult at times, to have a calling, and it is a calling, right? It's a calling.
Absolutely.
You didn't make this up. And to have God reach you in that way and speak to you in that way and direct you in that way, I think it deepens your faith in such a significant way. And your faith gets stronger. It just keeps getting stronger because of that calling. I believe it. And I think you're living proof of it. I think you're living it today.
Thank you.
And Angelo is going to be the first Xavier brother in the United States in 50 years. Is that correct?
Yes, somewhere around that time. The Xaverian brothers kind of.
How about in the first in 50 years in the United States, Rich?
Fantastic.
The brothers, there was kind of a shift in vocations around the late 80s, early 90s, and the brothers and the general superior kind of noticed a sense of dying off in vocations in the United States. So they created a tremendous exit plan out of the United States. And we had already been in Africa for many years before they had transitioned the congregation over there, but vocation started booming. And so the hearth, or not the hearth, but the main population of the congregation is living in Africa right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, talk about the brothers school that's in Africa now.
Yes, sir.
That's very exciting as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it just goes to say that the mission of the brothers is ongoing and forever living. So St. Xavier Bungoma, it is a secondary school in Bungoma, Kenya. It was opened in 2018, and they're seeing so tremendous numbers in students. It's climbing. And the director, Brother Raphael Wanjala, who I speak with often, he's amazing, and he is guiding his students into some great things. And he is keeping the charism alive in their school, ensuring their students how to give the gift they have received as a gift. It's amazing the work that they're doing.
It's
there.
almost the same story as Theodore Reichen, right? When
Absolutely.
they came over from Europe and landed in Louisville, Kentucky to start St. X High School. The first, if I remember this correctly, the first graduating class at St. X 160-something years ago was 13 boys. They were all German and Irish immigrants, which back then was looked upon as kind of the bottom of society.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that was the foundation, the beginning.
Right.
You know, in harmony, small things grow. You're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah,
man.
Sure.
And I think what's happening in Africa is exactly that same kind of rebirth beginning that will pay dividends for decades,
Absolutely.
decades and decades.
Absolutely.
Angelo, is there anything specific you can point to at St. X that inspired you to seek the religious life of the Xavier brothers?
It just kind of goes back to that mission that was instilled in us from the brothers. At St. X, we are a very service-oriented school, and so that's one of the many ways that we give back the gift that we have received is through service. And so once I was exposed to that at St. X, because it was a shift in my junior year after retreat and then getting more involved with service, and being able to experience the brothers and experience what the mission actually is. I think that's what kind of pointed me to. We have a retreat that 6 juniors go on every year. It's the XBSS retreat. And I was grateful, and it was a wonderful experience. St. X sent me last year, and my God, like the time that I experienced there, so many wonderful people who are mission driven,
Right.
who bring the gospel into their everyday lives and mean it.
Yeah.
And mean it. They're genuine about it.
Right.
And it sparked me, and that's what pointed me to. And the tremendous brothers over at Trayton Oak Towers now.
Okay.
I've spent so much time with them about the past 6 or 7 months. They have taught me so much.
I bet.
They have taught me so much.
Probably
How to
a
be
wealth of
humble.
knowledge, Sure.
Oh my goodness. I mean, prior to being exposed to them, my head was like this big.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I had so much going on in my
Understood.
life.
Sure.
And it was a very momentous moment for me. And I think I started to get a little cocky, and I met the brothers, and they humbled me.
Yeah.
They have taught me so much, and I'm so grateful for them. Absolutely.
Pretty awesome. All right. So I think our listeners have a pretty good idea of what it takes to become a priest and the steps you would take.
Yeah.
Line us out what it takes to become a Xavier brother.
So the formation process has changed so much, obviously. So there's a few different steps, a few different names for these steps. When you first enter the congregation, you enter in as a candidate, and they kind of work you out and see if this is something that you're ready for. So after you're a candidate for about, I think it may be up to a year now, you enter postulancy. And once you enter postulancy, that's more still working you out, molding you into who you want to be, what you want to do. Because as a Xaverian brother, you don't just have to be a teacher. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be anything.
Okay.
You can be anything. And that's why another reason I feel called to Xaverian is I can use my gifts and my talents in any capacity.
Got it. That makes sense.
And so I'm grateful for that as well. And so after you do candidacy and postulancy, you enter the novitiate. And our novitiate house is now in Congo. So when I do go into the process, I'll be living in Congo in the novitiate house. And that's when you're fully entered into the congregation. And that's when you take on a religious name. And that's when they start officially calling you brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the novitiate, you enter scholasticus. And that's more molding and more forming into who you're going to be and the profession that you take on. And then you also take temporary and final vows. So we take vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience. Yeah.
Now, is this something like the Archdiocese where they have funding set up to help people through this, or is this something you're going to have to fund on your own?
This will be something that I'm funding on my own as of now. We do have a vocations office, obviously, in the Archdiocese of Louisville, but I haven't been connected with them yet. However, since Xaverian vocations aren't in the United States,
right,
I think it'll be a slim chance.
That's interesting, though. I mean, Rich, that speaks to it even more, in my opinion. I mean, this is something that he's doing out of his own pocket, to go down this path.
Halfway around the world.
Halfway around the world,
not
right?
Down the street, yeah.
I mean, most people would be scared to death to go do
sacrifice.
this. It is a sacrifice, and you're such a, I don't know, just a very, what am I looking for? Exemplary young man that I think any of these St. X alums like Rich and I should be very proud of here.
You,
Thank
sure.
you.
All right, so Rich, not to date you here, but when I went to St. X, I knew Brother Kelly, right? But when you were there were a large number of Xavier brothers still teaching in school, right? How did that impact you?
Well, it was back in the day, and I started in the fall of '72, and the presence of the brothers in the building was significant.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them wore the robe and the habit.
Okay.
And so that was, I would say at that time, well over half the faculty were Xaverian brothers, including the leadership of the school.
Got it.
So you couldn't help but notice. And the first thing you noticed in those days was discipline.
Sure.
Right? That's the first thing
right.
As a freshman. You got to understand discipline. We're actually, during that time, there were, I think my freshman year, there were 1,400 boys in the building. There was a smaller building then.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little tight.
Mm-hmm.
But you learned discipline, you learned devotion, and you started to learn about your Catholic faith. And in the 70s, that was kind of an interesting era, right, in terms of our country's history. And we started becoming much more secular in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
And that kind of came through everywhere. So the brothers had to kind of fight against that sort of in those days. And I can't thank them enough. Look, they changed my life. Some of the best teachers I ever had in my life were Xaverian brothers. Brother Plastus, I had him for freshman English. He taught me how to be a good writer, to be a good speaker.
Yeah.
I learned that from him. Brother James McCarthy, who's kind of a famous in the St. X lore, kind of a famous personality. U.S. history. Brother Richard Angarola became a lifelong friend to me until he passed away a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So that's just a few examples of the kind of people that comprise the congregation of Xaverians. They're awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Angelo, what would you tell a young boy, 6th, 7th, 8th grader who's considering going to St. X?
The first thing I would say is if you're already considering St. X, that means God has already planted a seed in you. So I urge you to say yes. St. X is honestly a wonderful place. We have a fantastic leadership team right now, and answer that call. Join the Brotherhood. We're very inclusive. We're very open, and honestly, you figure out so much about yourself.
You do?
During your time at St. X.
Sure.
We spoke about the retreats. That's a pivotal moment. And high school in itself is a life-changing time for you.
Agreed.
And you learn so much. And so St. X is the place to be. because it's just opened so many opportunities. And honestly, it sets you up for what you want to do next.
Yeah, look, for young men and young women that are 14 years old, it's a pivotal point in your life. It is. And the direction that you take could be either left or right. Okay, it's not always easy. But I think finding that home, finding what I would call, and you refer to as a brotherhood, spot on, and finding a community that will embrace you during those what I call formative years, creates a transformation.
Sure.
It does. It creates it. And, for our part at the foundation, we want more kids in Catholic schools.
Absolutely.
Right? Because of that. That's our mission, is to create that access for kids.
The Brotherhood after St. X, and this isn't just to speak that this is only St. X. I think this goes to say all of our Catholic high schools, right, have that network once you get outside of, once you graduate, right? You're part of what St. X calls is the Brotherhood. Right. And I know from the business world, I have friends whose doors were open simply because they were graduates. They got in front of somebody for an interview or whatever, simply because they were St. X graduate. Right. It really does mean something, and I think we are here for each other. And again, that's not to take away from any of the other high schools, because I think everybody has their own unique kind of niche there, but St. X's is real.
Yeah, and there's such an incredible history. I think 1864 was the foundation of the school. Okay, that's a while back, and you've got something like 18,000 living alums around the world. Right. And I've said this before. For me in my business career, and even at the foundation, the last 10 years, that so many guys that were 10 years ahead of me or 10 years behind me created this incredible opportunity for me in my life. No matter what I was doing. And to this day, I count some of my very best friends as St. X grads in this community.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A couple more, Angelo. And actually, this may be the last one for the podcast, but there's a lot of facets when it comes to a Catholic education journey. Yeah. What are some that mean the most to you?
The one that sticks out to me the most is the formation process you go under. In Catholic education, we are taught to, and specifically St. X, we're taught to bring the gospel into our everyday lives. And so how do you do that? There's so many different ways to do it. And I think Catholic schools just teach us to do that so well. Specifically St. X, because just speaking from experience, our service, the service that we do and the way that we do it is one of the many ways we bring the gospel into our everyday lives, and that for me is enough.
Understood.
Beautiful.
Rich, this is what we do, right? So we're talking about our 25th podcast. We've got a young man here who's extremely intelligent, and I think would be unbelievably successful no matter what he does, right?
Agreed.
I mean, that's obvious. But this is what we're selling. This is what we're trying to do. Is trying to get people interested in understanding that this is Catholic education. If you want your child to look like Angelo here, this is the route you got to take.
Yeah, this is an unbelievable, life-changing pathway. There is none better than Catholic education around the world. There is none. And the faith component separates it from everything else, and you create this, what I call, superior, irreplaceable experience in a young person's life that they'll never lose. It can never be taken away. And it'll be with you forever. And again, for our part at the foundation, we're all about access. We don't run schools. We don't teach these young men and women. But creating access and creating an opportunity to be there is what we need to do more of.
So, Angelo, I want to commend you for being the young man that you are.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you as alums and the man that you seek to become, right? So in this increasingly secular world, it's nothing less than exemplary that you seek the religious life of the Xavier community. I think it's awesome. I think anybody who's a graduate of St. X would think it's incredible. And Rich, Angelo is just one more example of why we need more kids like this in Catholic schools and why the help of the foundation is so important.
The answer is yes. Praise God.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to podcast number 25. We hope to have another great guest. I don't know if we can top this one, but we'll see you again on episode 26.